Welcome everyone to my second YouTube video. I am Silver Mellow. As you can tell by the video, I am turning Minecraft mobs into fantasy monsters, as D&D have already done a Minecraft D&D stuff. So I have now changed it to Minecraft mobs in a fantasy world. Again, just as last time, I will be making the story and telling it through the eyes and ears of the adventurer thrown in the last video. Story will be made through rolling dices, so I hope you guys all enjoy the story. The adventurers looked at me, expecting me to tell them more to the story. So I did, and I continued from when I last saw the Iron Golem fighting the creeps and the zombies. Although, to be fair, I had been knocked out after watching a little bit of the fight. I came to the child taking care of me in what looked to be a newly refurbished building or hut. When the child saw I had came to, they had jumped on to me, giving me a hug, saying thank you for protecting me and giving me enough time to reawaken the golem. I just hugged back and thanked the child for awakening the golem, and just got up and walked out the door, child in tow, standing next to me as I walked. To my shock, I could see the rest of the villagers that had survived with the village guards rebuilding the houses and huts and workshops and places where they kept their animals and food. So me and the child began walking around, watching this amazing sight, seeing people coming together with their different professions, working to rebuild the huts. These creeps and zombies, they did a lot of damage, but it seems like these villagers are so used to it that they were able to keep rebuilding. So we went around looking, and there it was again. The Iron Golem was walking around, guarding, keeping sure everyone was safe. Hell, I even saw it carrying massive logs of wood from cutting down trees. The thing I did find surprising was seeing this stone mason helping cutting wood, even though it wasn't their profession. I was admiring everything until all of a sudden me and the child could suddenly hear a massive scream coming over from where we saw the stone mason with the log and other wood. Me and the little girl went rushing, going to see what was wrong. Iron Golem not too far from behind me, as I could hear its thundering footsteps. It didn't take us very long until we got to the scene that we saw. Just it was an unspoken scene. There were these massive spiders with arrows and swords and scars from where it looks like adventurers had attacked them. But what was freaky about them was that they were massive. They were like the old ones from my homeland. Massive, giant spiders bigger than men. Grown men. It was a terrifying sight, yes, but nothing I wasn't used to. So me and the Iron Golem went charging in with some of the village guards, protecting the other stone masons and woodcutters and, all the other villagers working so hard to help rebuild the village. Used to these types of monsters, it was easy. They were easy. I knew how to kill them. I knew how to take them out. What was frightening was their massive red eyes staring back at you as if it was looking into your soul, trying to find your weakness. But it didn't stop me. So I fought and I fought until we killed the majority of the spiders. It didn't take very long to kill them, but the damage that they had done, we knew we were going to need more help with the materials. It was at that moment when the child came back in to the work site where they were collecting wood and the stone, when I saw that she wasn't alone. There were these very small, we're talking like robin-sized birds small little blue fairies that didn't even have wings. They were just flying by her with food in these glowing orbs. It was interesting, but I had seen fairies before. What I found interesting was that they were unique, that they could carry items, and they knew where to take them, they knew how to use them. Hell, they even were taking rocks and pebbles and other things that could have been used to make new arrows or something, and throwing them into barrels or chests. It was kind of insane how well these things were working. They were working in tandem with the villagers. It was cool. It was very unique to see. Um, it didn't take long until I started being able to rest again, as my injuries from the fight from the previous night were not quite healed just yet. Which, of course, led to one of these blue fairies coming over to me and giving me some bandages. It was really unique to see, but I didn't let it bother me all too much. It was until the child came over to me and said that these little blue fairies were called, I believe the pronunciation was allays. I could be messing that up, but the point was these little blue fairies were summonable creatures born from the will to live in a place, even if it's dangerous, want to create a home. I'm not quite sure, but summoning is not one of my greatest fortes, so I never really bothered understanding it myself. The little child and I sort of sat and watched as people worked and continued on with their days at trying to get the materials for their homes and their villages. That was when the little child told me that the hope for this village is to be able to expand into more villages, hence I said villages earlier. But because of all the frequent monsters, they can't, they just don't have the resources. Which led me to think about staying for a while, help them protect the land. This idea was further placed into my head when I looked at the child, expecting me to say something. I was going to, I really was, but then a part of me, I think even an instinct, had came rushing out to me, warning me of an impending danger, one that I am very familiar with as an adventurer. I looked around looking for the creeps, or the zombies, or maybe these ginormous spiders from the trees, but there was nothing. It was dead silent. All you could hear was the sound of the villagers working, cutting trees and breaking rocks. This put me off guard for a moment until I looked at the edge line of the trees, and that was when I saw it. But just before I could shout it out, they must have known I saw them, as these grey skinned versions of the villagers came rushing out, killing and cutting down as many of the villagers as possible. It was a horrific sight. My first instinct was to grab the child and run, which of course I did. I grabbed the child and I hid them. I hid them where they couldn't be found, and then I went running back to see a sight that I didn't even think I could ever believe to be happening unless I saw it myself. These grey skinned, smiling bandits were just, they were capturing the Iron Golem and the allies. It was as if watching a magician tame magical beasts. I could only stand and watch as Nearly 50 of these bandits were huddling around, capturing all of the materials and the Iron Golem, as well as the 20 allies. It was horrendous, but I didn't let it stop me from doing my next act. When I had saw that they were walking back, there was a leftover one quickly looking at what seemed to be a chest full of the food and lunch for the hard-working villagers. I was able to sneak up behind them and knock them out. After a few minutes of the grey-skinned bandit waking up, I had managed to torture the information out of them to tell us where their camp was. After doing so, I was able to get a few of the village guards and a few adventurers that had popped by while I was asleep from my injuries, and we went running through the forest, going to save the Iron Golem as well as the allies, as bandits stealing materials was a common occurrence for adventurers to deal with. So we ran through the forest, taking out as many spiders and creeps and zombies as we were rushing to them. We get to their camp, and there it was, the Iron Golem, sitting in a massive wooden cage, as if dormant, as if the power they had been turned off. And the allies, well, they were in a glass cage that they couldn't break, as they weren't strong enough to. So we rushed over, we broke them out. I, being me, thought that this was odd, that they would capture and slaughter villagers just to then run off. I didn't believe it. So I took one of the village guards with me, and we went inside this, what looked to be towering outpost for these bandits. And it was at that moment when we saw it, an obsidian-shaped door with the creepy sounds of a portal. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that story. If it seemed I went a bit quick or I was a little more overdramatic, that was because in my previous video someone had told me I spoke more like a robot. So I'm trying something new with my storytelling, see if that helps, improve it a little. Anyway, so getting to the design notes, I don't really have much to complain about my stonemason villager as well as my pillager design. I think I should mention that with my pillager design, I didn't like the idea of having both their arms covering their body, or both their arms covering their body with a crossbow. So I decided to go with if they had the banner and they decided to use their axe instead of their crossbow. I did, however, give the stonemason and the pillager pouches. That would be in general like their coin pouch, or in this case their emeralds. I do feel like the spider was, again, kind of like in my other designs with the creeper, was a bit too simple. But to be fair, my mum, she had a look at it and she just hated the design because she hates spiders. So I kind of used that as a reference to say that I did fairly good with my spider. Now with the ally, I feel like I really should have given myself more time to work on it, as I do feel that it's too rushed looked. I don't know, it kind of looks like I was rushing it a little, and I don't really like how that came out. I feel like it looks rushed. Yeah, I think that's the best way of putting it. It looks really rushed. But to be fair, I still like how it came out because it still looks like an ally. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I really didn't want to give it wings. I couldn't get the wings to come out looking like wings. So I sort of made them look like floating spirit fairies instead. But anyway, on design notes, I think I've done pretty well for this video as well. But yeah, no, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the art and the story of this video. I hope you all have a good morning, day, or night. Please like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified on more videos.